Well, Jason Baffrey, we're live, sir.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Coach Talk TV, where we believe that coaching and coaches are an essential part of human development. You'll learn how having a guide in your own personal development can change your life, improve your relationships, and enhance your work experience. I'm Jason Baffrey. This is Rhonda Boyle. You're watching Coach Talk TV, where we have coaching conversations that matter.
We do indeed, and we are about to have a fantastic conversation with our guest today, Dave Nagata, and he works with kids in schools, college, going into their first year in college. So, wow, can't wait to catch up with him, and we would love to know if you're hanging out with us today and see your chats in the chat box. So you just go to...
And if one of your comments is, you guys are lagging really bad, we're aware. There's no problems.
That's right. We have first world problems here every show. Isn't that the truth? It's pretty much every show. Except that we should be grateful for the opportunity to talk to coaches from around the world. And have we ever had some fantastic conversations? This is week 2 of our Discover Coaching series. We've learned a lot, huh?
We really have. It's been great. And if you missed any of last week or all of last week, you can go back and find that on Coach Talk TV, our Facebook page, or all you can do, you can just enter coachtalk.tv. It'll take you straight to the Facebook page. Also, check out our YouTube channel, youtube.com/c/CoachTalkTV. And if you're going to be driving or you're going to be working around the house and you just like to listen to the audio, well, we have a deal for you. You can do that. Just go to find our podcast. You can find it at anchor.fm. You can also find it on iTunes and Google Podcasts and Spotify and many other of your favorite podcasting outlets.
I feel like we're kind of uptown now.
Yeah.
We're getting there, right?
Well, we're working on it.
I know, because you know what? Hey, guys, if you go into Coach Talk TV, where is it? I had it on here a minute ago. If you go over there, we've got now like 30 shows.
Yeah. It's amazing.
Kind of amazing. Yeah, amazing coaches we have interviewed from around the world. And so, yeah, today I'm excited about talking to Dave because he's talking about something really important, and that is working with college students as they first come on board. And we know that it is almost back to school time. How about for you, Jason Baffrey?
Yes, my soon-to-be 4th grader is not excited at all, but he'll be going back here in a few weeks. And it's that time of year where we transition from summertime back into the school year. And this is everything that's gone on in this particular year is going to make that even more and more interesting. And that transition's hard, really, to come out of being a high school student to going into college for the first time. I remember my first days on the college campus, and you kind of have that excitement, yet you're a little bit terrified because you don't know. I mean, you have to go to all these different buildings, and depending on the size of the campus, and are you going to have to go 2 miles away across campus to get to your next class, and how much time do you have to do that? And then inevitably you're late and you have to walk in, and there's that shame of, I'm late on the first day because I got lost, and so much to worry about. Does that not happen to anybody else?
I'm pretty sure it happens to all kids as they start to, and I think you feel so young too. Right. You were the oldest kid on campus in your high school, and then now all of a sudden you fully recognize, especially with alternative students.
Yeah, there's grown people walking around, 30-year-old old men.
Yeah, the pecking order changes and the dynamics. I mean, suddenly you're in a completely different environment. So I imagine there's a lot about that. And anyway, we start back. I have a grand boy in school, and he starts kindergarten.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, say again.
I've said he's a little young for college, isn't he?
No, he's not college, but kindergarten. And so even that, I mean, think about all the transitions that we have around school and around education. And, one of the things that, Jason, we've talked about in the past is how schools want to teach us all like we're the same.
Right.
And yet we're not. We learn differently. And so, kids, it's about time that children be allowed to learn according to how they're gifted.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It would be a nice change.
I know. Well, I mean, it goes back to my second grade report card.
Right. Yeah.
where I got in trouble for talking too much. Can you imagine, Jason? Moi talking too much.
Shocking.
I know, but imagine if my teacher had recognized that and had started to develop that gift. Today it serves me very well. I mean, I spend my whole life talking, and if I'm not talking, I'm typing.
Right. But
so it's all around language.
If you would have had the support of your teacher in second grade, you could be president now instead of internationally known TV or internet show host.
You know what? My kids still don't want my autograph.
Yeah.
I'm like, come on. I'm just mom.
Right.
Anyway, it is fun. So listen, let's get this show on the road and talk to Dave Nagata. He is a coach working in student affairs at a university in Idaho. He oversees new student orientation and new student mentoring programs. Excuse me. He loves working with college students and helps them discover who they are and their greatest potential. He's married to the most amazing wife, he calls her, and he has 5 incredible children. Dave Nagata, come say hey to the people.
Hey, everyone.
There you are. There was a little bit of teasing in the back room there about you loving your amazing wife and having 5 kids.
She is amazing, and I absolutely love her.
And we can tell that, Dave Nagata.
So, yeah.
Oh, hey, we sure are glad to have you on and to know that you work with college kids. I think you have a really important role in really a person's life, like their whole life. What is it like to have that kind of impact, Dave?
I'm grateful I don't have to do it alone. That I have an amazing team that I work with of student leaders and colleagues who are very supportive in helping me accomplish what we need to accomplish. And that is helping these new students come in as they transition to college, feel comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
So Dave, I gave kind of my first college experience, but what are some of the real challenges that students are facing in this day and age coming into, transitioning out of high school and into college?
It's a great question, Jason. They actually deal with quite a bit. Some of the same things that you had talked about, for a first time, for some of them, this is being out on their own. So they're dealing with issues of being lonely, homesick, learning to adult in understanding like how to do things on their own without the reliance of, parents or guardians to help them. There's also self-awareness, a discovery period that they're going through. Up until this time, school kind of helped them know exactly what they needed to do and what steps they need to take. And now all of a sudden they have this autonomy and freedom to be able to choose where they want to go. At the same time, it weighs down kind of heavy on them in the fact of, wow, what am I going to choose to, do for the rest of my life? And where am I going to put my energy? And how am I going to do it?
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, we have a whole new world, years ago, I guess I'm dating myself. We learned how to do some of this adulting, like we had home ec classes. So we had to cook and we had to, not burn stuff or burn it and be okay with it. And so when you talk about adulting, I mean, you're getting down to like being responsible for taking care of oneself, which sometimes these kids have never done before.
And it's a real challenge for them, things like time management. Now they could stay up as late as they want and sleep in as long as they want. They don't have to go to school, but learning to manage their time and use it effectively. Finances is another one that, they have to, gain a grasp of as they come in of, oh, I only have so much money. I can't just go out and spend it all on this weekend for fun, but, do I have the food that I need? Are my textbooks taken care of? And then also setting some aside for fun.
I wish I learned some of those things in college. Time management and money management are still issues today.
Well, and I think that there was a gap there, Jason. I mean, if you think about, the changes that have happened in the college environment over the last 30, 40 years, we have each been caught in a cycle of those changes. Yeah. So, for example, when I was graduating from high school, college wasn't yet something that you had to do. It was just starting to be that way. The SATs had just started coming out and they were still voluntary. And now they're not. I mean, it was, probably 10 years after, Jason, when you were coming up, or 15 years or so, where you had to take some of those. And by that time, college became, corporate America had become, had changed into requiring degrees.
Yeah.
And, there's now it's like, looking at adulting. I mean, we learned all that stuff in the home in most cases. And now I think kids have this frenetic movement, where they don't learn. So are y'all teaching classes on those types of things now, or is this more of a mentorship and a counseling, coaching type of situation?
At least for our campus, we do it through mentoring, and we have some phenomenal mentoring programs that help with time management, help with financial literacy, help with grit and growth and goal setting. And so some of these things, as we talked about, and as you had mentioned, Jason, about learning, we're providing opportunities for them to be able to learn those skills and those strategies now to help them be successful as they go through school.
Mm-hmm.
What other kinds of challenges are students facing on a more personal level, where you and your team are able to come in and really help them navigate that?
On a more personal level, we're seeing a lot, an increase in like mental awareness of issues of loneliness, of anxiety. Anxiety is great, and even depression. And we've even had to, we're starting to see some things where it's even gone a little further to where we've had some students that have been suicidal and have needed some additional help. And so these are some other things that are coming in on a very personal level for these kids.
And so how are you able to address those issues from a faculty, or student advisor standpoint?
So I love what my team does is we call ourselves the social connection. We're really there to help the students connect to the university. And so we serve as mentors to be able to get them to the right resources that they need. And so, like, for those that are struggling, with loneliness or depression, then our mentors are trained to help get them to the counseling center to get the additional help that they may need. If it's social, like they're just lonely, we do things, provide activities, get them out to meet other people, to start building those social connections. you know, if they're struggling academically, we help them get to the tutoring center, or, you know, if they need help with financial aid, we get them over to the financial aid office. And so we're really the connectors of really trying to help them build that foundation to be successful their first semester.
Right, because you want them to win. You're looking to help them win in their environment. So by helping plugging them into, you know, the resources they may not even know. You know, the biggest resource they have at their high school is the library.
That's true.
Yeah, they have a lot more now suddenly to try to navigate and maneuver through.
And there's just a wealth of resources out there. Because I remember when I went to school, you know, if I needed a tutor, I had to pay for a tutor. Now it's free, and they tutor in any subject that's available. And a lot of the students that we see are like first generational, so where their parents haven't been to school, or, you know, low socioeconomic. So it might be their first, you know, opportunity as well. And so it's really just helping them, get their feet on the ground under them to be able to take off and dream and become who they want to be.
I love how you have built a framework of nurturing around them. So what you recognize the possibilities of isolation and loneliness. And so your mentors provide sort of a built-in friendship to start off with, people who are caring and who, you know, can, as you say, point the way to these services, who can, I want to say, pry gently, you know, and ask the right questions. They're trained to ask, you know, the questions to get to discover what those kids need.
Very much so, Rhonda. I mean, from the day they step on to campus right before school starts, at our new student orientation, our students, our volunteers are right there, guiding them along the way, helping them, friending them, and helping them to get where they need to go. And then the mentors step in, and they're there every week for them. They check in every week just to see how things are going, and are providing opportunities for them to gather, to make new friends, to help them in whatever situation that they may need in at that particular time.
So Dave, obviously 2020 has been extremely challenging for everyone, but I can't imagine being in a university position right now heading into August of 2020. You know, a lot of schools, both elementary and high schools and colleges, finished out the previous school year in a virtual way. Is your university planning to be open, and how are you dealing with students in the virtual space and getting ready for this kind of new and different season?
You know, it's like new and challenging, definitely. Yeah. You know, our school will be open, and they've offered a variety of options for students to whatever comfort level they want to be at. So some classes are going to be remote, you know, over some video conferencing. There will be some that will just strictly be online. And then the ones that they will have on campus that will be face-to-face will be following some of the CDC guidelines to the fact that they'll have like 6-foot distancing, class sizes are smaller. They're doing one where it's kind of like a flex where half the class is present, the other half is online, and then they'll switch the next class period. And so, yeah, the university is preparing that way. Because of the scope and the magnitude of the number of students that I deal with welcoming in, we'll be doing it virtually because we'll have anywhere between 6,000 to 7,000 students.
Oh, wow.
And so, yeah, Rhonda.
Wow, 6,000 or 7,000 coming on new first-time students.
Yeah. And so with that, it has been challenging virtually. the school that I'm at, we have a 3-semester schedule. So we had one in spring, and we did that one virtually, and it was a great opportunity as a learning ground for us to see what worked and what didn't work. And so now we're just trying to improve and get ready. With that,
well, hold on, you have to spill it. like I'm dying to know what worked and what didn't, but go ahead and finish your thought.
That's okay.
Now that I totally interrupted you.
Well, like, for example, one of the biggest challenges of what we used to do, and we're trying to find other ways of doing, is providing that social connection. And it's a little bit more challenging doing that online versus doing it face-to-face. And so in my program, we call it ministering through mentoring. How can we minister and help these new students? And so I've challenged my volunteers and my student leaders to come up with creative ways to be able to reach out to students who are scattered all across the United States. And it's been phenomenal to watch, to allow these volunteers to come up with some creative ways, my mentors, to come up with some creative ways of connecting. And the one thing that, this generation is really great at is social media. And it's been fun to kind of watch them connect through those tools, through like TikTok and Instagram and Facebook, and in a sense build like this community, even though they're not in close physical proximity to one another. And so that's something that we've been doing. The other thing is we've had to kind of meet the new students. Well, we always kind of meet them at where they're at, but with a lot of them being home this past semester, quite a few of them had support because they were at home with their parents. We're able to help them get the help that they need. But we still had some that may not have as a supportive home environment, or maybe completely on their own. And so those are the ones that we really try to keep a close eye on and help them by reaching out as often as we could.
Wow. It's hard to even imagine that being a possibility, but I certainly know that it is, that there are kids who have, like they had that was their go-to place, to get out of wherever they were. And now that's gone.
True.
So that adds multiple layers. I'm thinking about what a challenge we're going to have in all aspects of our world, facing some of these mental challenges of what we've all been through. The good news is we've all been through it.
Right.
And so we're able to bring our own experience to the table, and we're able to have compassion and recognize that others did not have may have had a different experience, but it was still, you can relate, in so many ways. But that's going to be, I think your department's going to get bigger, Dave. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I just think that mental and all of that, the mental awareness is going to be, I think, really highlighted over the next several years.
I agree, Rhonda. Even as much as we could try to connect, face to face over technology, we still have students that are struggling because it's still not the intimate face to face that we as human beings need. And if those that are alone and don't even have that, that's even that much harder for them.
And especially if they're social.
Definitely.
They're innately social. And now that social, energetic connection is gone. That's what it is, Jason. Jason doesn't get this. He's like, I don't get that whole thing.
Well, it's funny.
You know, that whole energy thing and I mean, they're real people. Like, you can tell when I walk in the room, you can feel my energy.
Yeah.
So, you know, thankfully I feel like that translates or transfers over the computer. For me, I feel the people that I work with over the computer, but not everyone can do that. So you know, the new way of meeting online and the virtual stuff, it does not meet their needs.
It doesn't. And students are creative in finding ways to do it. It might not always be the best or following the guidelines, but because that is such a strong need, you could see it. You know, even as, you know, like our campus was virtual or remote, you go to the local parks though, and they'd just be filled because they want to gather. They want to connect. They want to be with their peers.
And it's worth the risk for them.
It is.
I totally understand.
So Dave, tell us a little bit about how you utilize coaching and some of the tools that you use, and then how you work with your team in coaching them as well.
So with coaching, I really focus on my student leadership team, and that rotates out. I have anywhere between, depending on the semester, 20 to 40 student leaders that I work closely with on a day-to-day basis. And so with coaching—
Wait, how many again?
20 to 40.
Wow, that's a lot.
It is a lot. And so it, like, for example, fall semesters are always our largest. So we'll have quite a few more on our student leadership team versus our spring semester, which is like from May to July, is pretty small. And so we may have like only 20. And so what I try to do, Jason, is I focus my coaching on them and to help them develop. They have this desire. They want to serve. They want to give. Otherwise, they wouldn't be volunteering and jumping in to be in these programs. They love helping others and building other people up. And so what I do is, as a coach, I work with them as a team as a whole and individually one-on-one, and helping them to recognize and see their own strengths and potential within themselves, but also being able to recognize other people's strengths and their potential. So that way they're able to come together and appreciate each other in a more open, dynamic way than just being, focusing just on survival for themselves, and realizing that they have the tools within them, they have the talents, those strengths to be able to go out and to be able to give.
Yeah, that's amazing that they can, that you're able to help them identify the students that they serve, really start to recognize their potential and zero in on it. They're becoming mentor coaches without really knowing.
Exactly. You know, and so like one of the tools that I use is the strategic interdependence model. And, you know, it's about how do we strive to be at a level of interdependence, of creating synergy with each other, of co-creating, of serving each other so that in return we can serve others, and understanding the different levels of interdependence and independence and dependence and codependence, and understanding too that they as individuals, and all individuals have needs, and that when they get frustrated or feel stuck, it's usually because they have some unmet needs. And it's been amazing to watch my student leaders not only speak up and share what their needs are to be productive and to be able to ignite that energy within themselves, but to be able to help even, like, for example, their mentors, their volunteers, and even the new students what their needs are, and being able to recognize it and put it into words. I think that's one thing that has been really powerful, is for them to be able to articulate and communicate exactly what it is they need.
And be okay with and removing the shame of asking.
Right.
That's probably the most important part of it, because that's what causes some of those things, the depression, anxiety. It's all caused by shame, So being able to give them permission to ask for what they need without any judgment or shame is probably one of the most powerful gifts that you can give them.
That's true. And the one thing I've noticed, especially among this generation, is they're not afraid to share. They're not afraid to be vulnerable. And once you give them the opportunity, and they know they can, they will open up, and they'll be really free as to expressing how they're feeling and what they need, and what they could give.
I was working with a millennial the other day, and what you're saying is absolutely, she was bold and forthright with exactly what she was looking for. Some of that had to do with how she was wired, and you could tell. But yes, I love that about this generation. And they are looking for this mentorship and to mentor others. That to them is, that seems like a normal way to maneuver through the world to them.
Oh, very much so.
Mm-hmm.
They're so good at networking and finding what they need, finding information, and they're not afraid to reach out once they know what it is that they need,
Mm-hmm.
to others to gain that knowledge or that experience or that resource that they need to be able to push forward.
I wonder what makes them wired that way as a whole, as a generation. And I do realize that we're stereotyping and that, but let's do it for a minute. What do you think it is that makes them so open to mentorship and counsel of others?
I think this is a blessing for them, and the fact that because they've grown up with technology,
Mm-hmm.
and they can find information. Even my own kids, I watch my own children. If they want to learn to do something, they're whizzes at figuring out how, what resources to go to, things like YouTube or Google or anything, and they absorb it, and then they like to go and do it. And so I think with growing up with that, of being able to, okay, here's a question I have, or something that I need, where can I go? And being able to do that almost very naturally for themselves, is, I think, it translates over into their relationships with other people, and the fact that they're very open with one another, and willing to share.
I wonder if it has to do with like the fact that Google is out there. They don't know the world without being able to instantly get the knowledge that they need, and they seek it from multiple sources, and we just become one more.
Right.
That's what I'm thinking, maybe, because unfortunately they don't always do what we think they ought to do. So clearly they're here to, get input, but not necessarily follow. So anyway,
That's
I don't know.
true.
Yeah.
It depends if it aligns with their values. And that's one thing that I've definitely learned working with college students, is I've had to look at my own paradigm versus their paradigm. And I remember the first time I was in the college environment, well, one of the first times I was in a college environment, and I was in a meeting and I had used a word and a student didn't know. So right there in the middle of class, he's like, Siri, what does, and whatever the word was, mean, right then and there, to get the information. And at first I was like, oh, that's kind of weird. But then, but I had to take a look and be like, he didn't understand what it was. So he went to the resource that he knew to find out what it was that I was meaning and what I was talking about. And so,
And to find out now.
yeah, right now.
But
Uh-huh.
didn't have the thought to just type it into Google instead of interrupting the entire class by asking Siri.
It's funny. I appreciated him in the fact that at first, because I've been like, wait, what are you doing? Just type it in or whatever, like you said, Jason. But then the fact for him, as I worked with him more closely, for him that was a need. Is he needed to know now, but he also verbal process things much easier. And so it was like, okay. So then we talked about, how can you do that without distracting everyone else or whatever to get your needs met?
Right.
My husband would like for you to probably give me the answer to that one. I'm just saying.
So Dave, you've got about 6,000 or 7,000 students coming in that are going to have direct access to you that you can advise as they come into BYU Idaho. But there's thousands, if not millions, of other college students that are getting ready to enter into their first semester of college in their lives. What's a good piece of advice that you could share with them that we could get out here?
Use the gifts and the talents that you've been given, and don't be afraid. Grab hold of that, the thing that makes your generation unique, and the fact that you can gather and find information. Use that to your benefit. Reach out. If you don't know, be vulnerable. People are there to help. They want to help. And so ask those questions if you're not sure, if you're a first-time student in college, or maybe finances, or you're struggling, or figuring out how to manage your time or register for classes. There are so many people out there that are willing to jump in and help you. And so just reach out. And if you can't find someone, well, I mean, you could easily find someone at your university or college. Network, find other people online. LinkedIn is a great way. Look for people that are like advisors at universities, that they can help give you like questions or some guidance that would be very general, but you would be able to apply to the university that you're at. And don't give up. Like, it's amazing. College is an amazing experience. There's nothing like it. Time of your life, and not just college. Even if you go to trade school or whatever you choose to do, the relationships that you make with people, those friendships, those experiences, the failures, the successes, they're all part of life, and embrace them, because they really do help shape you into who you are, and even in who you want to become.
I love that, Dave. And, it's this time, being flexible, and I am just so grateful that we've got colleges, universities like yours that have built the nurturing support for these kids. And I hope that that's going on at universities all across the country as we transition into whatever we're creating next in our world. So anyway, thank you so much for sharing what you've got.
Well, thank you. Thank you for allowing me to be here with you today.
You bet.
Great information, and good luck in this new school season.
Thanks. I'm excited.
Yeah, you bet. Thanks. We'll see you in the green room later. Wow. Just think, all these kids going back to school, maybe.
Yeah, I'm glad I'm not one of them. I'm glad I'm
not,
especially now.
I know. This next generation of college kids is going to be setting, right? They're kind of like setting a new bar, if you think about it, a new standard, a new way, and them bringing all of their creativity and, being honored for their gifts and talents, I think is going to really help shape the future of the university experience. So we need to be listening to these kids and finding as much support as possible for them as we can.
Yeah, well, and I think it's great that Dave's out there, and hopefully there's some other universities that are implementing, strengths assessment or recognizing those types of things and helping their students realize their natural gifts and talents as they enter into that atmosphere.
For sure. Well, gosh. Hey, thanks for joining us, everybody. This is week 2 of our Discover Coaching series, and we will be back tomorrow. We've got great guests lined up for you every day this week on Coach Talk TV.
Yeah. Be sure to find us at coachtalk.tv, or you can just go to our Facebook page. You can also find us at youtube.com/c/Coach Talk TV. And then you can find our audio podcast at all of your favorite audio podcast outlets, but you can go to anchor.fm. We're also on iTunes and Google Podcasts and Spotify and a whole lot more if you'd like to listen to us while you're driving down the road or doing your work or out for your run or whatever it is you might do when you listen to podcasts.
We have quite a few lined up there.
Well, thanks everybody. For Rhonda Boyle, I am Jason Baffrey. We'll continue our Discover Coaching series here on Coach Talk TV tomorrow. We'll hope to see you then. Have a great day.
Bye, everybody.